pillagers and ransackers sack a town or hamlet, they burn it to the ground. When governments are faced with pending election defeat, they load up the public service with their sympathisers and sign contracts that will inhibit the new incoming government. Well, this document, which came through Freedom of Information, is a symbol of Rome is burning. It is a contract authorised by Leon Bignell and signed by his delegate, the head of Perza Fisheries, Sean Sloan, with Recfish SA on the 15th of September last year for a 2-year funding agreement to keep it in power. That's just months out from an election which Labor knew it was going to lose. This contract gives funding to Recfish SA until the end of June next year. This is the organisation which faced the axe by the incoming Liberal government. The Liberal government promised during its election campaign to remove the peak status from Recfish SA and to stop its funding. Well, up until this time, neither of those two promises have been kept. It would be easy to cancel the contract, but then that would set a dangerous precedent for the government. So basically, it has to abide by that contract. Remember, this is a contract between a government department and an NGO, which is supposed to represent the interests of all recreational fishers in this state. However, by signing this contract, Recfish SA has become a contractor to Perza, an employee if you like. It is not free to advocate on behalf of recreational fishers. It is tied to the requirements of the contract, and if breached, its funding can be withdrawn immediately. It says so in the contract, which they signed. It says, and I quote, "Recfish SA must not, without the prior written approval of the Minister, issue or participate in any media release or publicity in relation to the amount and specific nature of the funds and the conditions under which the funds were granted under the contract." Okay, they can't, but I can. The 2-year contract is worth $272,776. So what does it have to do other than keeping its mouth shut on how much they're getting? Well, they have to be the primary conduit between recreational fishers and Perza. But how can they do that? Because they have a conflict of interest. It's Perza and the government who have contracted them. It's a Chinese wall. That is, you put something up and make it look legitimate, sell it as the real deal, but in the background pull its strings, stifle it, and threaten its existence by pulling its funding. So how can they represent equally and fairly the interests of recreational fishers? Simply, they can't. They're hogtied. They have cash in their back pocket that can be lifted by Perza at any moment. One of the most intriguing parts of this contract is an appendix under notices which states the Minister's representative, that is Bignell's man, as John Presser, the General Manager, Fisheries Policy and Management Unit with Perza. Now, isn't he the same man who addressed that very small crowd at Recfish SA's Hindmarsh meeting last month to discuss the future of recreational fishing representation? I think he was introduced as Perza's manager for reform. Talk about foxes in the henhouse. This should serve as a major red flag to the new Minister, Tim Whetstone. We know he's been left a lemon with this contract. But Recfish SA must be cut adrift, and how Tim goes about doing that is up to him. But he can do it with the clear knowledge that the majority of this state's recreational fishers will be behind him. We all voted for that change. And as for Perza, the only real change to move recreational fishing representation forward is for a complete mind change within that organisation. And believe me, they're so entrenched in their ways, that's just not going to happen. Remember what Perza stands for: primary industries. That's looking after the commercial sector, not the recreational fishing community. There's still more work to be done to get equality and transparency for us rec fishers.